This review is going to make a couple long-time subscribers really happy. And that's what I'm all about. It doesn't happen right away, but it eventually happens if you stick with me. EXOPLANET by the Contortionist. This is an album from 2010. Why are we talking about it here in 2012? Because the Contortionist have a new album coming out tomorrow, which is July the 17th. It's going to be entitled Intrinsic. So why don't we talk about the debut? Basically killing two birds with one stone. Now, typically whenever I look at a CD and I see one of those labels that say, this band sounds like, and then it lists usually 2 or 3 artists, I'm immediately taken aback and kind of drawn away from it. And the reason for that is because these stickers are placed on there mainly for marketing purposes, mainly by labels, in order to try to encourage buys from people that may not know much about the band. And while I understand why those stickers are so very important, it sometimes just turns me off because more often than not, they end up being a lie. Just like the cake in Portal, the sticker is a lie. Well, this one had 3 names on it: Opeth, Between the Buried and Me, and Meshuggah. Whenever you think about combining those 3 bands, it sounds incredible. And then you listen to this album, and you realize that for once in the long history of these stickers' existence, all couple of years of it, they finally got it right. They finally got the exact trio that you would probably think about whenever you consider a band of this nature. Now, there are some key principal differences, not to mention there's also a stigma that this band is faced with that is actually kind of correct. This band actually has elements of that killer D word that we hate around these parts, deathcore. Now, wow. However, this is a band that is able to combine progressive metal, death metal, deathcore, gent, and ambient music all together into one crazy looking pie. I mean, this pie is like multicolored and weird. This is an album, though, however, that really performs this to a T, and here's the way they're able to pull this off, because this just sounds like chaos. It sounds like chaos whenever you speak it, however, whenever you hear it, it actually works. And the reason why it works is because they do not get too heavily involved in one and forget about the other. Either that, or they do not try to throw and mishmash and whirlwind it all together into a tornado of suck. No, instead they're able to focus just enough attention on each part of their strengths, which is basically all of the things that I just listed. And they're able to really make the effort sound cohesive, not to mention also make linear sense. This is an album that is able to do that extremely well. Whenever they go into the deathcore element, I will not lie, it is very, very reminiscent to just about every other deathcore band I've ever heard, with one lone exception. And that's the fact that they're able to use a little vocoder in the background. The exception is that they're kind of just doing it as a novelty. It's something where that heavy aspect is something that is very attractive to a lot of listeners, and it works. That's the thing. This is finally deathcore that works. Deathcore in a singular fashion cannot stand. But deathcore, when combined with multiple other elements to really, I guess, bud a flower that is varied in color and varied in smell, in pollen content, is one that actually has the most attractive scent to all of the bees that surround it. Elaborate metaphor. Wow. Nothing new for me. So how do we do this specifically? Specifically with the deathcore side, I've already mentioned it's a little bit of a simulacrum with a lot of the other deathcore that I hear, with those minor differences. Whenever it comes to the progressive side, that is what is driven by their harmonies. It's what's driven by their structure. The gent is also one part driven by the structure as well. In fact, you could really say that gent and deathcore kind of are having a bit of a tug-of-war match between one another to see which one is actually going to have supremacy on this record. The ambient side comes within their elaborate interludes or extraludes, or moments in the actual song itself that is able to just take itself right out of a Devin Townsend or a Dan Svano playlist or playbook and just absolutely feel as though they are meant to be in that company. Whenever you hear some of these songs descend from that deathcore side that maybe might turn you off to something a lot more interesting that may turn you on. It really is a sight to behold. And if you're a deathcore fan, this is going to sound unlike anything that you maybe have ever heard. That's where the Between the Buried and Me side really, really rings true. The Opeth side rings true in the fact that the progressive nature and the construction of these songs, while it does not have these sometimes simplistic elements that Opeth is able to boast and actually do so well, it's one of those processes where they don't have to do way too terribly much in order to really attract a crowd. But it is in the way that heaviness is presented. This is not deliberate deathcore. Instead, it's trying to mend the harmonies together along with the heaviness and the brutality, and with the addition of very powerful growls, you have an Opethism. And the Meshuggah-ism is absolutely 100% bare balls basic. It sounds like gent, so Meshuggah. But actually, in the complexity that is embroidered within, there is a lot of reminiscence to the band. Overall, the combination, this combined effort, this collaborative team that has been assembled, this bastard concoction, actually is just as amazing as some of you have prescribed, and just as amazing as some of you have described. It is actually kind of insulting to myself that I did not give this an opportunity 2 years ago, mainly because I was bogged down by other things. Mainly because I was focused in on other things, honed in on other things, and after that I just felt like it was too late. But right now, perfect timing, considering we have a new album coming out probably the day after this review gets posted. For those of you watching this in the future, it's out! Get it! But what does that also mean? That also means that directly following this video, the very next video that you're going to see from the coverkillernation channel is going to be a review of Intrinsic. But how do I feel about EXOPLANET overall? Overall, for a debut, this is damn impressive. In fact, if I were to go back and do the 2010 list again, it would finish second to Barren Earth. Because that Barren Earth album, The Curse of the Red River, was just wow. I had not heard a debut like that in a long time. But whenever it comes to being purely inventive, whenever it comes to being creative, whenever it comes to micromanaging genres and mishmashing them together, which is something that has become very commonplace lately, the Contortionists have been able to do it in a way that is not only interesting, but unique. And those are two things, those are two aspects that you're going to really require if you're going to win over an audience, simply by mishmashing styles together and being unique. Your uniqueness truly has to have something special in order for you to shine forth amongst all the others. Bravo to these guys. I would have given it an 8.5 out of 10 then. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10 now. I'm excited for this new record. So excited, I'm going to go listen to it right now. Peace.